This podcast is brought to you by the Islamic Center and NYU. For more information, visit our website at www.icnyu.org.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the universe, the master of the day of judgment. I bear witness and testimony to the oneness of Allah, to His magnificence, His omnipotence, His might, His glory, to His being the creator and sustainer of all things, the giver of life, the guider of hearts, the master of the day of judgment. And I bear witness to the fact that Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His servant and final messenger. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him and upon all those who choose to tread in his path until the last day. It is said that when the month of Ramadan began, the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam would tell his companions that a month has presented itself to you, a month of blessing. That within it there is a night that is worth 1,000 months of worship. And that whosoever is deprived of it is deprived of all good. And the deprivation of it, he says, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, is a true deprivation. And for many of us in the nights that we surround ourselves in, we are looking now in anticipation of that one night that is worth 1,000 months. May Allah make us from those who seek out witness and benefit from Laylatul Qadr. And the recommendation that comes to many of us across our tradition is to seek it out within these last 10 days, these last 10 nights of Ramadan. In the onset of this month, we might have been in a place where there was things that prevented us or things that we feel as if we could have done differently. Now, this Mubarak day of Jummah, you want to, with productive retrospect, think about all that you have taken in terms of self-knowledge and think about what it is that you are going to apply with that understanding to how you will approach the remaining part of this month. The Quran, when it speaks about these days, it refers to them as ayam ma'dudat. And in Arabic, the utilization of ayam in this way does not just indicate days that are endless, but grammatically what it indicates is that it's a number of days that are just going to be a few days. We have everyone just come in really close. The room is going to get packed, so if you can fill in the gaps and make room for those who are coming. Our hadith, it tells us that when we can make room for others, literally, that there is blessing and barakah for us. And so we're going to have many people, as I mentioned in previous weeks, that there are classes in the room that we normally do Jummah in because of COVID. So alhamdulillah, we still have space to perform our Friday prayer, and there's going to be rooms that it's live streamed into, but we want to fill as many people as we can as possible. And so the way that ayam is defined here is meant to be something that gives us an indication in a couple of different ways. There hasn't been a night in the last few nights that there hasn't been literally hundreds of people that come here that again and again, the same thing has gone by so fast. But that's what it's supposed to be. It's just a few nights. And the recognition of it in the way that Allah identifies it, that there's nothing in Allah's plan that is without meaning, is to give us a second-fold understanding. It's just a few nights, don't miss it. It experientially might feel like that we just began 3 weeks ago. But the idea is to think deeply about what is now still ahead of us and not to be in a place of remorse that says what I could have done and did not do, but to fuel within yourself that says what remains, what am I going to take from it as best as possible? These are days and nights that are filled with barakah. And in our tradition, the word barakah, it loses a lot of nuance in translation when you call it just as blessing. That barakah is about increase. Barakah has elements of continuity to it. Barakah is about elevation, but at the same time, it's something that descends. So the word for camel in Arabic, we see it in the Quran again and again when Allah talks about the naqatullah, the camel of the divine. And in Arabic, when the camel descends, you use the word barakah to describe how it goes down. But the idea is that blessing, it comes upon you. It's something that descends to you. And you want to make connections, use critically the mind that you have that's been exposed to multiple pedagogies that enables you to think deeply in so many arenas, think deeply about your faith and religion as well. You have angels that will descend on the night of Qadr. You have a book, a Quran that descends into this worldly existence. You have so much that illustrates again and again and again the idea that blessing is coming upon you in some way. And that barakah comes and manifests in various forms. You have barakah when the rain is falling. You have an hour in the day that we are taught within this day of Jummah that there is dua that is accepted. You are traveling, there is barakah. You break your fast, there is barakah. In a state of sickness, there is barakah. The one who is oppressed, their dua is heard. So much that gives us insight to blessing and blessing and blessing. And there's likely not many amongst us who understand and recognize again and again that Laylatul Qadr is given defined indication of its enhanced blessing, one night the equivalent of 1,000 months. So you got to decide how it is that you are going to approach it. The word Qadr gets translated in a lot of different ways. It's called a night of destiny, a night of degree, because our tradition tells us that on this night is when Allah decrees what the coming year is going to look like. And so you want to be in a state where you are engaged in anticipation of that night, seeking it out. There's going to be a lot of people who intellectualize things so much. Don't create doubt where you don't need doubt. If you're going to stand with iman and ihtisab, as the hadith says, with real faith and real surety, real expectation of the divine, just on one night of the last 10 nights, do it with your heart. If you have the capacity to do it in all 10 nights, then do it. If you want to follow the opinions that our teachers teach us, that scholars of generations past say that some say it's not even necessarily in Ramadan. Some say it could be any night of the year. There's so much that goes into it. It's not the time for just pure rhetoric. You don't want to interject into somebody's mind some kind of doubt that there's no point to them standing, even if it's simply on the 27th night alone, even if it's only on the 23rd night, even if it's only on an even night, if they can't make it to an odd night. Don't be the reason why anyone, including yourself, undermines the standing in any of the nights. You take from it as much as you can. That standing might not look the way everyone else's. You are blessed if you have the privilege to be somebody who can stand within the rows of every prayer of every night of Ramadan. But this deen is just for you as it is, for the guy who's going to pray Jummah with us right now, that you might not see because he won't be in this room, but he runs from the street cart in the midst of this Ramadan where he's not eating any of it to just catch the last rak'ah of the prayer. But he's doing it as best as he can. That's what Allah wants from you too, to just do as best as you can. But you got to own up to what your best is. These are nights that you want to just be in a place of strategy. You don't want to think about where should I have been now? 24 days into Ramadan. But you're exactly where Allah wants you to be. You're in a place where you made it this far. The opportunity now to yield from the blessing is going to be subjective decision. Don't make bad choices, make good ones. These are days that you want to leave the haram behind, not to throw your back against a wall, not because some judgmental fool is making you feel like as if you're not entitled to a relationship with your God. You don't want to do it because you want your heart to be as attentive as possible. And even where you might not feel the implications, the metaphysical parts to it are real. So stay away from whatever it is and allow for yourself to engage in it in a place where your entire being is rejuvenated. Be mindful of what you are eating and how you eat. Allow for your body to be fueled with things that are nourishing. Don't encourage people to go and engage in what's going to just bring down their physicality of it, because your body is the vessel of your soul. So you want to be smart about how you stand and what you give to fuel your body in your standing. Definitely don't eat haram in these days. These are not the days to do that. These are the days to just put what is good into your body, things that are going to fuel you as you stand in front of your Creator. You want to take advantage of these days and come to a place of peace with silence. Stillness can be so chaotic for some of us that I don't know how to just be with myself without having to continue to push and push and push and push. This is not something that you do mindlessly. This is not something that, as people say, you can do in a state of exhaustion. Your mind is still literally processing everything that you are consuming of the imagery that you are engaged in. And it's creating now agitation for you. Don't go into these nights where you are in a place where you create the distraction. I literally stood next to a brother the other day, man. Maybe he doesn't know. I'm not saying it to judge it. But we're standing next to each other and he's looking at his phone, answering text messages while we're praying Maghrib. And I want to be like, man, what are you doing, bro? Maybe he doesn't know, but you can't do that. And if whoever you're talking to here is more important to the one that you're talking to in this way, you're going to get out of it what you put into it, man. You got to think deeply about the distractions and just put them to the side. You might not feel at peace in a gathering that is filled with people. Pray in your room, pray in your house, pray 2 rakah, make some dua, whatever you can do. Don't undermine it. But the stillness has to be something that's understood, because ours is a tradition that necessitates being able to listen. من كان يؤمن بالله وباليوم الآخر فليقل خيرا أو ليصمت. That whosoever is habitually believing in Allah in the last day, the kana construct is one that doesn't denote that it was just done once, but it was something that happens again and again. So whoever is habitually believing in Allah in the last day, let them speak good, let them speak khair, or be silent. It means then that the normative state for us is one where we don't talk, but we just observe. You take in from whatever it is that's happening around you with observation and stillness. You can't learn if you're not listening. And there's no way that you can listen if you're talking. And listening is not just done as a body seated, going through mechanics of standing, bowing, kneeling, and prostrating. But listen from all of your organs of sensory perception. Allow for yourself to take in everything that's there and to recognize that a listening of the heart necessitates being at peace with silence. How many times was the adhan called in this month and you were speaking words over it? Not a time of judgmentalness, but you can't benefit from hearing what it's calling you to if you are talking over it. You don't want to be in the space where the Quran is being recited and it is being recited and your ears are not taking it in. There are literally companions of the messenger of God who fled persecution and went miles and miles away and returned back to the city of Mecca because they heard that when the verses of Surah Al-Najm were revealed upon the people and the prostration was commanded, everybody prostrated, not just the Muslims, but everybody, because of the magnitude and power of what the verses entailed. And those people came back hearing that the mushrikeen even prostrated. Everybody must have been practicing Islam now. You can't be moved by words that you don't listen to. And not just listening in the form of following, but just being in a place of stillness, letting yourself feel the presence of the angels that are going to be filling this worldly existence. So if you're going to talk in these nights, make sure that your speech is filled with khair. Otherwise, just be silent so that you can just observe and through that observation grow. You pay attention in a moment of reflection inwardly that allows for you to understand who it is that you are. So the I you are today is not afraid to meet the person you can be tomorrow. The wording of this hadith is important to reflect upon because when it says yasmut, samt is different from other variations of this hadith that say yaskut. That means just be quiet. But here the wording is giving indication that samt is that you don't even have the ability to speak. It's something that you don't possess. And so you want to adopt a mindset and an attitude as if I will only speak khair, and if it's not good coming from my mouth, then I'm going to adopt a mindset as if I was somebody who couldn't even talk if I wanted to. Just let good words come from you. Good words typed from your fingers. Let good words be the conversation that are going into your ears. Let yourself just see goodness and speak goodness and just take it all in. Every spiritual diet in our tradition recognizes that wisdom, hikmah, is intrinsically linked to moments of silence. And our Prophet ﷺ was not somebody who talked a lot. It was just part of his demeanor. So in these nights, just take some moments. People ask me all the time, I don't speak Arabic. You don't have to. These are divine words. Words that were given to us with a recognition of who we are in our diversity. You just have to be willing to stand in yourself as in your entirety and to allow for yourself to absorb all of what their power is intended to convey. It's not a book that was meant to be a weapon to hold people down. It's not a book that's meant to empower you and I to be gatekeepers of somebody else's practice. It's a book that's meant to give us an indication through this idea of power that Allah is Al-Qadir. He is the source of all power. And that you and I, we are simply abd. That we exist not in a mode of self-sufficiency, but there is not one of us in this room who can exist on our own accord. We are reliant upon something in order to simply be. But our Creator alone is ghani, self-sufficient. And that night of decree, that night of destiny that also gets now translated as a night of power has to be in a space of recognition of what does this really mean? It's a powerful night, not just because of what we might conceptualize power to be. It's a powerful night because the source of all power is determining and giving decree of what the coming year is going to be about. And it's a night where the potential is there, the opening is there to be able to embrace the idea of fundamentally who I am made to be. You are not meant to be only a doctor. You are not meant to only be a spouse or a father. You are not meant to only be an educator or an artist or an activist. You and I were made to recognize the reality that we are ibad. We are abd. You and I are abd. Everything in creation relies on something to exist. Now you can decide whether you will choose to be an abd of something that also has its own capacity to need something to be, or will you choose to be an abd of the one that does not rely on anything and is self-sufficient. The one that loves you more than a mother loves its child. The one that watches over you and doesn't simply just watch you. The one who is the provider of your provision, the one who is the creator of all creation, the one that before there was anything, there was him, that after there is nothing, there will be him. He is the first, he is the last, our sustainer, our provider. And in pursuit of these nights, you just bring some of your intellect into it, but also bring your heart that has observed Ramadan for all of these days. The Prophet ﷺ was asked by his wife, how should she anticipate? We talked about it last week. He gives her a dua to make, which the specificity of it is important. We talked about, Allahumma innaka afu tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. But also, he's telling her to make dua. Make dua in these nights. Make dua. Make dua for the people who are near and dear to your heart. Make dua for the people whose names only you know and nobody else knows. Make dua for things that recognize the majesty of the divine. You are asking of the creator of all creation, the one who holds ultimate power, the one who hears the dua of the weak, the oppressed, the ones that the world has forgotten. Make dua that is indicative of the one that you are asking of. And think about why you're making the duas of what you're asking for in the first place. Don't limit them only to things of the dunya. Don't limit it only to things that have finite measure to them. You have struggle in your life. I don't know why people go through famine and starvation. I don't know. I don't know why when I sit with some refugees in different parts of the world, or I stand with people in what was the remains of their home, I don't know. That's not my job to answer that question. I'm not going to, again, intellectualize somebody's struggle and give them an answer that only validates my passivity in being a source of help for them. But I do know that I believe in the God that I believe in. And I believe in the understanding of what I can fathom ultimate power to be, that there is a day where everything is going to be set straight. And may Allah grant us ease in our judgment on that day of standing. And I know that everybody who has false claims of power, who believe that there is no accountability in the ways that they oppress, in the ways that they hurt, in the ways that they mistreat, in the ways that they abuse, that just like me, they got to stand in front of God too. And I want to try to bring the best of myself to these nights and to not let any part of it leave without me taking advantage of it. And so you make dua. Raise your hands to the skies. Allow for your heart to be in a state of supplication. You don't have to use somebody else's words. Use your own words. You don't have to speak in a language unfamiliar to you. God is the creator of all languages. Use words that are familiar to you. But as your brother who loves you, don't plead into the late hours of the night simply for success in this world. But ask of Allah to give you nothing less than the best of success in the world beyond this one. Make dua for each other. Ask of Allah to bring ease to the hearts of those who are trying to understand His decree. Those who are amongst us who don't know why it's hard for them to find a companion that is suitable for them. Those who have overbearing parents who mistreat them and yell them and do not honor the rights of children. Those who have experienced the loss of a child as a parent. Outliving your child is a struggle that no one should ever have to go through on their own. Those who come from broken homes, those who deal with all kinds of harsh realities, those whose poverty and hunger is not voluntary. Those who are struggling, make special place in your dua, man. You know what the problem is? when you can't recognize that you are a good person, and you can't recognize your own beauty and that you are a source of light and luminosity, you then start to believe that it's somebody else who's supposed to do the good that only you can do. How can we benefit from the du'as that you don't make for us? And all we're asking is that you see yourself the way that Allah sees you. So that when you stand your ibadah, your worship in these days and nights, they're not a selfish mode of worship. Engage in selfless ibadah. Because we are servants, we are ibad. We're not here to be served. In these nights, if you have opportunity to engage in good works, do good works. There's a balance that is meant to be interjected. If you haven't in this entire month served food to somebody and you've only been served, you haven't cleaned up something and you're standing and watching other people clean, or on the other end of the spectrum, you're only engaging in that aspect and you're the one that's only serving the food and you're the only one cleaning, but you're not standing in your own right, making dua. Don't make it an either or, make it a both and. Our Prophet ﷺ was the most generous of all creation. And in this month, they said that, subhanAllah, he was even more generous than any other time. It's not selfish worship. Your fajr is not your fajr. Your fajr is our fajr. Your dua is not simply yours. Your dua is for those who are beloved to you. The haram that you commit doesn't just impact you, but the ones that you willfully commit, not that you struggle with, but you purposely and consciously engage in without care, it impacts everybody else around you. Just as the goodness that you do as well. Sayyid ibn Musayyib, rahimahullah, he used to tell his children that I do good deeds so that you will benefit from them. Selfless worship. Standing in front of the creator of all creation. Take advantage of these nights. Take from them everything that you are fully capable of. It's not for anyone else other than for you. And in the midst of all of it, even if it's a sentence, man, even if it's just some few words as you're rushing to a 2-hour commute back and forth and you just spit out something in dua, you have a creator that looks for a reason to take from you as much as he can. So just give him some reason to do it. And you're going to see the doors open. The world is going to look so different. And you're going to be written amongst those, inshallah ta'ala, who sought out, witnessed, and benefited from Laylatul Qadr. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله تعالى فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسول. Inshallah ta'ala, tonight we're going to be having special night programs. Sheikh Fiaz Jafar is going to be leading in this room for tonight and the coming nights, for those who follow the Jafri tradition, as well as those who do not. We also tonight are going to be having our annual Grand Qiyam program be taking place with our Hufad who've been leading us in Salatul Taraweeh, and make special dua for them. Right? It's 4 brothers who are really trying their best. It's not easy to bear the burden of having an entire community pray behind you. Some of them are quite young. and they're, mashallah, doing an amazing job. When you have the opportunity, go and thank them for it as well, because they're leaving behind families and friends to come. And may Allah preserve and bless all of the guardians of his book who are taking the time for no other reason other than they care for us. That after Isha and Salatul Taraweeh, we'll be moving from the 5th floor of this room to the 10th floor next door. We'll be doing a Qiyam program until Fajr time. And try to be there if you can. Inshallah ta'ala, it'll be of a benefit. And if you can't, just do your best at a minimum, if you're able to. If you can't, it's not also easy. But try to pray in these nights, the Isha prayer and the Fajr prayer in congregation. Grab a friend, grab a buddy, tell people, can I sleep in your house tonight? Somebody asks you that, don't be awkward about it. But you're trying to get to a place where you can fulfill the congregation. And that standing in Isha and that standing in Fajr, it fulfills some of the prerequisites of standing in the whole night. Inshallah ta'ala, it'll suffice. If you have the means, though, to be here with us, then be here. There's a lot of different masajid in New York City who are hosting these programs. If you need information, let us know, and we'll be happy to help in whatever ways that we can. But where and how you are able to just do what you're able to, make sure you're doing it in whatever capacity. Inshallah ta'ala, Allah Azza wa Jal will accept from all of us. Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuha alladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad fil awwaleen wa fil akhirin. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا. يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. We begin this supplication in your name, Ya Allah. Beseech you to send your choicest salutations upon your most beloved, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. We ask that you shower your infinite mercy upon this gathering, granting each and every one who is present herein and our loved ones only the best in this world and the best in the next. We ask, Ya Allah, that if all of us are meant to be together only at this time, at this place, whether we are young or old, male or female, regardless of our race, our ethnicity, our social class, our country of origin, our cultural heritage, whether we are Muslim or come from a different walk of life, Ya Rabbi, if our individual hearts are meant to be in the presence of all other hearts that are gathered here, only at this time, at this place, then gather us all together again in the best of places in the world beyond this one. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen, most merciful of those who show mercy, bless us and our loved ones on this Mubarak day of Jummah. Through this month of Ramadan, you have given us an opportunity to know you better by knowing ourselves. Help us to carry with us always the lessons that we have learned in these past few weeks through the remainder of our days in this dunya. Make us from amongst those who live with true contentment every day of our lives, and grant us an abode in the place of ultimate contentment in the world beyond this one. Allow for our beings to be filled with self-love that we can go out and share with others, rather than a love of ourselves that keeps us from being everything that we are able to be. When our hearts are heavy and we are filled with darkness, bring people to us who illuminate us through kindness, compassion, and love. Make each one of us always the reason that people have hope in this world, and never the reason that people might dread it. Make us those who use our strength, our power, our sheer will and determination to break down the walls of inequity, injustice, and oppression that confine so many today. Help this community, Ya Rabbi, to truly be those who come together on principles of truth, patience, and mercy, real haqq, real sabr, real rahmah, so that we can as a community do for others what we have the ability to do. Inspire this community, Ya Allah, to build the shelters and clinics that our neighbors are in need of. Inspire this community, Ya Rabbi, to take in the orphans and children that the world has forgotten. Inspire this community, Ya Allah, to be generous and honest, people of integrity and sound character. Inspire this community to live its Islam in such a way that it brings benefit to all those who are around it. Send us reminders always of what true contentment really is. And let us never be those who sacrifice the fulfillment of our needs by chasing after the complacent desires of our wants. Help us to see this world always through hearts that have benefited from Ramadan, to see the goodness in all those who are around us, and to see the goodness in ourselves. To never be those who elevate ourselves by denigrating others, to see the benefit in any challenge that comes our way, and to not pass on a gift that can only be acquired through patience and perseverance. Help us to silence fear and abolish anxiety, to overpower indifference and break away from greed, to eliminate arrogance and defeat racism, to be bold enough to ask of you to make us those who do only that which is good. Make us those who find real peace and real love, and not just the semblance of it. Those who give real peace and real love, and not just the facade of it. Make our motivation always selflessness, not selfishness, sincerity, and never self-centeredness. Accept from us all that we have done in this month of Ramadan thus far, and that which we intended to do but did not do for whatever reason. Put into our hearts a desire for nothing less but to take from these remaining moments all that it is that we can, and remove from our hearts anything that distracts us from it. Make each one of us from amongst those who seek out, witness, and benefit from Laylatul Qadr. And in our standings in these nights, help us to remember all those who are forgotten, whether by us alone or the world around us. Give us the energy to stand into the night and the sincerity to make dua for all those who are special to us. Through this Ramadan, increase us in our Islam. Through this Ramadan, increase us in our Iman. Through this Ramadan, increase us in our ihsan. Make the Quran our guide and grant us a deep understanding of it. Make the prophetic example our goal, both inward and outward aspects of it. And make our prayer our anchor, granting us the true sweetness that only salah and dua can. Make the best of our deeds the last of our deeds. And let not any one of us leave this world other than in a state that is most pleasing to you. Ya Allah, bless us in this month of Ramadan and help us to gain from it. Protect us always from hearts that are not humble, tongues that are not wise, and eyes that have forgotten how to cry. Forgive us for our shortcomings and guide and bless us all. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وأقيموا الصلاة.
If you would like to listen to more, please donate to www.icnyu.org/donate. For more of our virtual programs, go to www.icnyu.org/classes. If you have any questions, email us at info@icnyu.org.